right now, you're in for a treat. You see that? Well, I'm excited to introduce this guy. He hasn't been with us for a while, and he's one of my favorites. Please give it up for Mr. Osric, Chau! How was the IV?
I feel really tingly right now.
Yeah?
I just got a shot in my bum, and I got an IV done, and my whole body is tingling.
Yeah.
I feel like I got a shot of adrenaline.
Yeah.
And, and it's kicking in.
It's a great time to just get down on the stage in front of a bunch of people.
I know. That was the only time we had, so that's...
Great time to do intravenous drugs.
Yeah, anyways, well, I don't usually take supplements or vitamins or anything, and I just got like a mega dose of all of it, so...
That's awesome. Well, we always tell people, you're clean.
Yeah.
You're a clean fighter. You're a clean fighter. You took Jerry down, all sober, no drugs.
Yeah. And now I can take Rob down.
Now you're...
No, I'm not going to take Rob down. No.
Please don't.
No one's going to take Rob down. No one would want to take Rob down.
I hope not. I hope not. All right, well, have a great time.
Thanks, Rob.
I'll see you after.
I'll see you after. Oh, hey, Michelle. I don't think that's working.
I just ran into the nurse that gave you the IV thing, and she said she accidentally put some liquid acid in there. So if you're feeling a little woozy, she said, that's what it is.
That would explain a lot.
Yeah, so anyway, don't be anxious.
All right.
But that's what she said it is.
Appreciate you. Wow. Yeah, it's needles are you know, man, I feel really strange. I mean, I'm what you call straight edge, so I don't usually do anything. I don't even drink caffeine. Like, I don't have coffee. I try to stay away from sodas and sugars. So I'm used to having nothing in my system, and I'm currently experiencing a lot. Anyways, I feel like I'm going to be... Thank you, good sir. I'm going to be experiencing these things in the next few minutes, I feel. So I'll try to keep it together. Man, I'm doing a panel right now. I should have thought of this before I started. Very happy to be back in Denver and live. And I feel hungover. I don't drink. I should feel hungover. If this, okay. Maybe we should open the lines up for questions. If anyone has anything to ask me, maybe it'll help me focus right now. Cause yeah.
How do you feel about dying?
How do I feel about dying? That's a solid question. There was the first 10 years of my career, I never died, and I always wanted to die because it seemed like such a fun thing to do. Usually when you're filming it, you get to, it's kind of fun, you get playing with blood and guts and stuff, and I never got to do that. And then once I started dying, I died a lot, and I'm like, okay, well it's not as fun because then you're like off the show. But then you get on a show like Supernatural and they keep bringing you back, so then it's okay again. So I don't know, I think generally I like dying on TV or movies because the stuff you get to do is generally quite fun. I think my favorite death, if I have a favorite death, is actually probably on Supernatural when I got to, when I kamikaze myself. There was just like, I think it was, even though it was alternate reality, Kevin, it kind of epitomizes all the struggles that Kevin actually went through and how he kind of internalized it all and it just manifested in the way that he did. And Kevin was a martyr in a lot of ways. Like, he never had anything good happen to his life, and he ended it in the way that, well, alternate reality Kevin anyways, ended in a way that he thought.
Can I get a t-shirt?
I only have the one I'm wearing, unfortunately. Okay, well, maybe at the end of the panel. Ask me in 10 minutes, I might say yes. By there, let's open up the floor on this side.
Hi, my question to you is, besides what you were talking about on your first panel about like meeting Jared for the first time running, what was your favorite moment with the cast, like, for meeting them?
That goes to Mark Shepard. So, when I met Mark, who here has met Mark Shepard or seen him in person? A lot of people. Okay, well, if you don't know Mark, he's quite the character, quite the personality. When I first met him, I don't watch a lot of TV. I didn't know who he was, and so I saw a gentleman that I didn't know, and I introduced myself. I'm like, hi there, my name's Osric. What's your name? And Mark just looks over at me, crosses his arm, and he does this. And he points to his chair, Mark Shepard. And I'm like, oh man, I offended him. I'm like, oh, hi Mark, okay, very nice to meet you. And I just like walked away, and I didn't talk to him after that. And we had that one scene together where he just like snapped his fingers and disappeared. And then I'm like, okay, that's my time on the show, and I'll probably never see him again, and that guy, Mark, really hates me. And I went on to do another show, they shaved my head. It was like months later, I ended up going to San Diego Comic-Con, and the episode had aired, and like no one recognized me because I looked very different. It was just like the one episode that was out, and I was walking through the crowds at San Diego Comic-Con. There were thousands of people in this intersection, and I get this hand on my shoulder, and it's Mark. And he's like, Osric, this just proves you don't all look alike. And my thoughts like, that is just a little bit racist, but it was said in such a nice way. And then Mark was like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I was gonna like look for a lunch spot. And he's like, nah, you just come with me. And it was him, Misha, Jim Beaver, and Mark took me on my first Comic-Con adventure. He took me backstage. He was the one that welcomed me into the family. And it was such a lovely, after a really awkward first encounter, but it was such a lovely moment, and I'll never forget that. It also like kind of showcases Mark as who he is. He's like that gruff guy that's kind of scary that will make fun of you, but he's also got like that he's the nicest person, but he doesn't like showing it. But he'll do it in ways that you don't really expect. Meeting Mark. Thank you for your question. Hello.
Hi. If you could have any job, what would it be?
That's a good question. I feel like I'm always trying to do the job that I want to do. I'm currently on track to learn how to direct, and I don't know if directing is the job that I would want to do always. I think, that's a good question. So in my line of work, I'm what you call a contractor, right? I do contracts. So when I do a TV show or a movie, I get the job, but when that is over, then I'm unemployed again. So most of the time, I'm unemployed. Or if I'm working a lot, I'm working on different jobs. So every job is a different job. Sometimes I'll work as an actor. Sometimes I'll work as a producer. Sometimes I'll work as whatever else I can get my hands on. But every time it's a little bit different. So there's a joy in that because I get bored very easily. I have a little bit of ADHD, and I don't like to be stuck in one thing for too long. So the idea that every job is a new job is kind of the exciting thing. So I guess my dream job in that sense is being able to explore different jobs, different stories, different things.
Hey, Kevin,
always.
rock.
Well, thank you. Like Kevin was a dream job. Thank you. And I think the next one I would love to direct something, and that will be a dream job. And then I also want to continue producing because you can also kind of uplift a lot of, your own community and people that you want to see do well. and as a producer, I'm able to kind of offer those opportunities. So I also want to produce, and when I do that, that will also be my dream job. So I think my dream job is whatever I'm doing at the moment, because I only do it because I want to. Do you have a dream job, actually?
Be you.
Be you. I mean, being yourself is certainly, it takes a lot of work, so I would say that. Do you have a dream job? Do you have anything that you kind of like?
I want to be a bus driver.
Sorry, what was that? Video games. I mean, you're lucky in this day and age, you can be a professional video game player. It is actually a lot of work and it takes hours and hours of practice. And if you're not doing it already, I mean, it's kind of tough, but if you like video games, I mean, there's certainly video games. I don't know if you know this, but video games is the largest industry in entertainment by far. So video games is larger than movies, TV, music, live shows combined. Video games is that big. So in terms of picking an industry, you pick the biggest possible one. So if you like it, it doesn't hurt to explore. Thank you for your question. Hi.
So my question for you, I'm a college student right now, and I was wondering if you had any advice for your younger self or for college students or anything like that.
So many. I mean, for me it was, don't go to school because you think you have to. I mean, but that is very specific to me. I only went to school because I thought you had to go to school. You have to go to school if you want to be a doctor. You have to go to school if you want to be a lawyer. I had no idea what I wanted to do or what I wanted to be. I kind of needed to explore, and unfortunately for me, exploring in school wasn't conducive to the path that I eventually took. What are you on track to do? What do you want to do?
I'm currently pre-med.
Pre-med. Oh, well then you're doing the right thing. Okay, if I had some advice to give myself, I would say enjoy the time in your life right now. I think as humans we're always looking, the grass is greener on the other side. There's like, oh, I can't wait till I get this thing and then life is going to be so much better. Like we always have those thoughts, and I mean it's impossible to have those thoughts. But if I were to look back on my life, I would remember that every single year I have told myself, when I get there, everything will be okay. Or like, I can't wait till that happens. I can't wait till that happens. If I look back on my life, the last 20 years, I have said that and thought that every single year, and every year I have surpassed last year's goal. But I still feel the exact same way. So I feel like it's a moving target and you never quite get there. And so the only, logical outcome then is to, you just kind of have to appreciate the fact that you've already overcome so much. Like the you of last year is probably very proud of yourself right now, right? And remember just how far you've come, and that's an incredible thing because you are that person you wished you were last year. And I wish I appreciated the fact that, like when I was in high school, I wish I enjoyed it a little bit more. Like I had a great time in high school. Like I was one of the lucky kids. I had a really good time, but I didn't really enjoy it as much as I feel like I could have. I didn't appreciate just the structured environment, the only structured environment I've ever had in my life. Like I didn't appreciate the fact that I could kind of turn my brain off and just enjoy being a kid. Like I never really got to do that because I was maybe a little bit too ambitious, even though I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I had to do stuff. But yeah, I think just enjoy your life. Don't let it fly by you because you're chasing after something so hard. Like I think we have to enjoy life because like the present is now, and it's the only time we're gonna get it.
Thank you so much.
Hi there.
If you've seen Stranger Things, what would your Vecna song be? And if not, what's your go-to karaoke song?
Okay, I'm glad you asked the second part. I've seen season 1 of Stranger Things. What was the thing in the show?
The Vecna song, it's like a song that, your favorite song that would pull you out of your darkest moment.
Oh, interesting. Oh, I don't know if I have a favorite song. If I did, it'd probably be from the 80s. my go-to karaoke song. Let's see. If I picked a song, I would. I don't know the title. Is it "Hey Ho" by the Lumineers? I think that's a fun song.
Yeah.
Motoring.
Motoring. That's a great song. Is that your song? That's a good song. Yeah, maybe. I don't. Yeah, maybe like a Linkin Park song or a Backstreet Boys song. I'm stuck in that era. I know I'm old because I only listen to the songs I listened to in high school. Yeah, that's again. I'm not very music driven. It's a weird thing that I've learned of myself. Is that I don't notice when music's not there. If music's playing, I'll appreciate it. Like to me, I think I enjoy soundtracks more than anything because music complements whatever atmosphere you're in, right? So like a musical score, a song might complement a scene. Like if we're at a club, you might want dance music, but you know, at your mother's funeral, you might not want to play club music. So even if that, not that I go to clubs or my mom hasn't had a funeral yet, but you know, just the shot is really kicking in now. Yeah, I don't really have a favorite song, a go-to song. I don't have a playlist. I don't understand how to use Spotify yet. When I'm driving, I often listen to silence. And I think a lot of times it's because I just have so many thoughts that I'm thinking that I don't want to distract myself. Yeah, I think that's one of those weird quirks that I've noticed of myself in the last year or two. Yeah. Do you have a favorite song?
I would probably say either anything by ABBA or Get Steve.
Oh, I know ABBA. That's good. I'm proud of myself that I'm one.
Sing some ABBA.
Thank you for your question. I'm not a singer, unfortunately. Thank you. Anyway.
Hi, Osric. I want to say, of course, obviously I love Kevin on the show, but my favorite thing that I've seen you in is the Hollywood show. The parody music video. Okay, are we familiar?
Yeah.
I just wanted to know, like, how did you and the rest of the cast get involved in that, and what was your favorite part of filming?
I met Haley and Hannah in Spain at a convention. I saw their work. I got really excited. I asked them to do a Supernatural parody. They're like, we haven't caught up on the show or don't have really ideas. And then they did The Walking Dead. They asked me to be Glenn. And a year later, they're like, okay, we finally have a Supernatural parody idea. I was really excited. Originally, I was signed on to do Crowley, but the scheduling didn't work out, and I ended up playing Sam. I remember I got Rich involved first. And Jensen, and I was showing them the videos. I'm like, you gotta look at their work. It's just so good. And then we just kind of set up this room for people to dance in. They're just everyone just go in that room and dance in front of the camera. And the cast being the cast that they are, they just jumped in and danced, no questions asked. And then it kind of happened. It was kind of crazy, and I thank Creation for allowing that to happen. That we did that at the Vegas convention, so they just set up a room for us, and we danced on camera, and then everyone found out, I guess after the fact, what it was. I'm like, guys, we're doing a parody of our own show. We get to be the cast that does their own parody. How weird is that? And I think that was a really cool moment, and I think this group in particular takes pride in doing weird and random things that no other show really gets to or has any interest in doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
My name's Rachel. How are you?
Hi, Rachel. I'm still feeling a little woozy, but I think it's starting to settle down.
Well, that's good. My question for you was, you played Kevin so well, but it doesn't seem like you have a lot in common with Kevin in real life. So how did you really get into character to play someone who you don't have a whole lot in common with, especially because Kevin was all about school, and you're like, it's not.
Yeah, I'm very, you know what? when I was in school, everyone thought I was going to get a full ride to Harvard, and like I was president of the student council. I was president of the Vancouver District Student Council. I was involved in like 20 different clubs. I started 2 of my own. I was teaching like guidance counseling classes, doing anti-bullying seminars. Like I was very involved in school, and so like I had the resume to go to Harvard, except for my grades. I was like a C- student. So it was a really weird place to be in, because everyone saw me as like the academic kid, and I was like, I don't like studying. Right? Like I love getting involved, I love learning, right? I believe in education, I just don't believe that school is the only place to get it, and certainly for me it wasn't, right? Like if there's one facet in my life that I try to hold on to, is that I'm always a student, right? It doesn't matter where I am, what I'm doing, who I'm talking to. Like even if I'm on set, there's someone, it's their first day, like there are lessons that I could learn from them, right? And I try to always keep an open mind and an open heart to any of that stuff. And so in that sense, I'm very similar to Kevin in that Kevin is a professional student. Like that's what he does. At school, that's what he did. He learned, and then he did the test. And when he got into the supernatural world, he studied these tablets, and he applied them when necessary. Right? So if there's one thing that we have in common, it's certainly that. And you know, just as an actor, yeah, you have to play characters that are so different from who you are in real life sometimes. But you know, we're all such complex creatures, right? Like sometimes we're really shy, sometimes we're really outgoing, sometimes we're, you know, and it really depends on who we're interacting with. Like I'm a different person in front of my parents, in front of my family, than I am with my friends, and I'm with different groups of friends, right? So like, who do you choose to be when you're this character? I think there's like a facet of you that might be part of this version of yourself, right? And so like, when you're kind of diving into a character, those are the things that you kind of explore and like, oh, this is that part of life, even if it's not a part of your life that you live anymore. Like I'm never that person. That was like me 15 years ago, but like I remember what it felt like to have those thoughts, to have those feelings, and then you kind of tap into that side of yourself. Like I went through a massive emo phase, and I guess a lot of us did. Yeah. But I went through this huge emo phase where I was listening to like my music phase. Alternative rock and My Chemical Romance, where I was just like, I want to walk down the street alone, crying, and have no one look, but they know I'm doing it. Like weird thoughts like that. Like I was listening to Backstreet Boys walking home from the bus, and I remember like, man, like I'm really emotional right now. It's so cool. It's just so stupid now that I think about it. But you have all those aspects of your life that are so far from who you are now, but like they were present at some point. And so as an actor, our job is to kind of tap into all those things and figure out what works best for the character.
That was so beautiful, thank you, and I love you so much.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Thank you for your question. Hi.
So since you are working to become a director, is there anyone that's like at the top of your list, anyone you dream to work with someday?
Well, this is probably very long. I mean, I gotta say, like, I got to shadow Rich on Kung Fu, like, it was only 2 weeks ago, but like, that was really fun. And I remember, like, the first time I ever worked with him as an actor, him directing, like, I already knew he was a good director. Like, it was so immediately obvious, and like, finally, you know, stepping behind the camera with him and just watching him stress out for 3 weeks, like it certainly gave me a large appreciation for what he's doing. And I think at the end of the day, like it's that camaraderie that really, like that's the magic that you get, is when you get to do a project, like it feels like a marathon, like almost like you're going to war, but a happy war, where you're fighting time. And it's such a stressful endeavor that you kind of really only want to do it with people that you love and care about, right? And that's the really special thing about film or TV, is that like you're stuck with these people, you know, 14 hours a day, every single day sometimes, for, you know, months on end. Like you want to enjoy that process. So as much as like, yeah, there's so many people that who have done things that I admire immensely, but at the end of the day, like, I guess the ideal situation is I just want to do a crazy project with my friends. I want to struggle with them, and I want us to like go through it, hopefully smiling by the end of it. Because like that's the most important thing, right? And like honestly, there are some heroes of mine that I would probably love to work with, but you never know. If you end up working with them and there's not that chemistry and it turns into a sour experience, like I also don't really want to taint that. And part of it is also like I want to create that culture for myself. I want to create a thing that I could bring people into and create my own industry, essentially. And you have a lot more, like as a director or as a writer on a TV show, you kind of have a lot more sway in terms of how you want to set up an organization. Whereas if you're an actor, you just kind of jump into it. So like as an actor, I would love to work with David Fincher, let's say. Because he's notorious for doing like insane amount of takes and just exhausting you as an actor. And I mean, it sounds like I'm a masochist there, but it's also like a chance to kind of explore it and try something that you don't normally get to do or to experience. And most of the stuff that I end up filming in Vancouver, like we're short of time, we're short of money. I guess that's every production for the most part. But it's rare that you really get to like fully explore a character or a scene in a way that is just creative. Most of it it's logistics. And so, as an actor, I would love to work with some very interesting filmmakers who have like a very specific approach to filming that I've not explored. And back to that last question, it's just because I want to explore, I want to learn, I want to see what other processes there are out there so that I can kind of help develop my own in terms of what I like, what I don't like, how I would run a set, how I would deal with people, how I would, just set things up for myself. So, yeah. But, sorry, to answer your question, actually, it is, yeah, I just want to work with my friends.
Perfect answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi.
If you could choose a different story arc for Kevin, what would it be and why?
Oh man. I would have liked something nice for Kevin. My initial thoughts with Kevin, because he's a student, because he likes to learn, like I wanted him to learn something else. Like after he translated the tablets, like I understand, as a writer, I understand why they would kill him because, like what else is he gonna do? He's done the work. The next step would be to learn how to do something else. Whether it be like learn how to be a hunter, learn a new skill set. Like that is your job. Your job is to look at something, figure it out, and then apply it. And yes, it happens in academia. It can also happen in in its physicality, and it could happen in anything. And I would have loved, and this is probably a purely egotistical thought, is that I would have loved for Kevin to learn how to be a hunter so that he can go and fight some baddies, because I come from a stunts background and I just want to do some action scenes. So that's what I would have loved to see for Kevin, because I never get to do action. And it's because I don't look like a guy that can do action. And I recognize that now, 10 years too late. But that's why I'm also developing my own projects, some of which are action projects, because I want to do it before my body gets too old and my bones start to decay.
You look great, in my opinion, obviously.
Oh, thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you for answering my question.
Thank you. Hello.
How are you?
I'm up. I'm feeling good. Feeling good enough to stand and eat and walk.
My question is, if given the opportunity, would you want to shadow Jetson for directing?
Is he directing? I know he directs, but like, does he have time? Maybe I'll ask him. Yeah, I mean, at this stage, I'm shadowing like any and every director I can. Obviously, I live in Vancouver, so it's easier to shadow in Vancouver, but yeah, I would definitely shadow Jetson. When before I directed my first ever thing, Jensen was one of the first people I ever talked to about directing, right? And he gave me a lot of nuggets of wisdom. I think the first thing he told me was like, you gotta do your homework. You gotta do your homework. And I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But I knew so little about directing that I didn't know what homework to do. But now I do. Right? And there's so many things that he has said to me very early on, before I had even thought of directing, that now makes sense, that didn't before. So yeah, I would absolutely love to shadow Jensen. There's so many directors that I would just love to be a fly on the wall and watch how they do the thing that they do. And currently, there's this master class thing online. I'm watching all the director stuff. Every time I'm on set now, I will tell the director before I'm on, hey, just so you know, I'm gonna be kind of peering over your shoulder and stuff when I'm not in front of the camera. And it, for the most part, everyone's very cool about it. I'm not gonna get in the way as long as I can just observe. And some things I'll be like, I wouldn't do that this way. I would do this way. And then other times, wow, I love what they did there. I never would have come up with that. I try to think of okay, how did you even get to the point of having that idea? And again, it's all part of an education. So I would shadow anyone. Certainly I would Jensen if the opportunity came up.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
My question is just, what was your first audition and how did you find yourself there?
My first audition ever, I was 9 years old. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was a play date. My mom took me, and I think I was runner-up. So I didn't get the job, but I almost got the job. And the kid that got the job was called Naked Shower Boy for 10 years. So it probably worked out that I didn't get the job, because I wouldn't like that. That audition, though, opened up doors to me getting an agent. So I got an agent. Me and my family did background for a couple of years, and then at some point that agency went to theatrical, which means that they're like, okay, we're not doing background anymore, we're just going to focus on actors, right? So people that say one line or more. And I made the cut, and so they asked me if I wanted to. I had no idea what they were asking. And I just said yes, as a lot of the best decisions of my life, and worst decisions of my life, usually follows a yes of me not really knowing what I'm getting into. So I went down that path, and then when I got to school, I hated school so much that I tried so hard to not go to school, and acting was an avenue that I had. I'm like, oh, if I get a job here, I don't have to go to school. So I worked really hard to be an actor so I could not go to school. Yeah, are you an actor?
I'm a model, kind of.
So you have auditions too. What was your first audition?
My first audition was for a tattoo expo that's coming up, and I'm walking the runway. It's in a couple weeks here, actually, so, and I made it, so.
Oh, congratulations. Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi there.
My question is, I know you're friends with Yoshi Sudarso and Kira Sudarso. I was wondering if you ever auditioned for Power Ranger or considered auditioning for Power Ranger?
Yes, I was just talking to Yoshi prior to this, actually. I did. Power Rangers, I was almost a Power Ranger twice. Once as a Yellow Ranger, obviously. But the other time, it was a Blue Ranger. Well, anyways. I was almost a Power Ranger twice, and it would have been a really cool experience. We shoot that in New Zealand, but it's also a very, I know so many Power Rangers. It's a weird thing to be able to say, but I know 10 Power Rangers. Actually, no, I probably know more of them, but I'm friends with 10 of them, right? But I've met probably 30 of them, and it's a very different lifestyle. I don't know if I would have, if my career path, if I went along the lines of the Power Ranger, if it would have led me to being an actor. I think it would have led me more to being a stunt performer, weirdly enough, which is my original career path. Because Power Rangers don't necessarily care about acting. I haven't seen it since the first season, but even then I remember that wasn't its strong suit. And so you're not really encouraged to get better as a performer. Like there's a style that you learn, and unfortunately it just doesn't work for almost any other TV show or movie. And so a lot of Power Rangers kind of get stuck in that. And I have a couple of friends who've gotten out of it, but it takes a lot of work to kind of recognize what it is that you're in within the Power Ranger universe and being able to explore. I mean, it's the same with like CW. Like, I'm sure a lot of you have seen some CW shows. There's a very specific acting style that comes in CW. It's very broody. People stare a lot. They breathe heavily. You know, there's like a style. And so as a Vancouver actor, you have to learn that style. But it doesn't work for a lot of other shows and movies. And if you don't recognize that, you get stuck like really broody. And sometimes you'll get notes like, I don't know if that works. And you're like, whoa, that was so good. Totally would have been season 16 of Supernatural. Like, I see. We're trying to make this. Right, so like, I think it's understanding the types of show and stuff. So I'm kind of glad, like, I would have died to be on Power Rangers. But I'm kind of glad it worked out the way that it worked out, just because it forced me into another career path. And I'm happy to be where I am. Thank you. Hi.
So, do you remember when you were in the Hunter Protection Program and Kevin was on the boat and Sam and Dean had to do like food runs for you? If you had Jensen and Derek do a food run for you, like today, what would they get?
I mean, I would probably ask for something and they'll bring me something I can't eat. If I were to guess. I don't know. What would they get? I'm pretty sure they would. I'm plant-based. I feel like they would get. I mean, I don't think they would go out and start like bringing steaks over, but they would probably bring me the most disgusting plant-based things they could find. Out of principle, they would, and I would understand why, and I would probably eat it. I mean, you know the guys. They're doing you a favor. I'm careful. I'm like, all right, what's behind this? There's a prank behind this.
You're skeptical like Nisha. You're like, you're being too nice for some reason.
There are laxatives in this leaf of lettuce. I don't know. Like, you have to be. They have taught us to be skeptical. I mean, if you haven't learned that lesson by now, like, that's on you, right? Thank you for your lesson. Hello.
So adding on to the food run thing, in the episode where you're on the boat and Crowley's trying to fool you with the two actors who are in place of Jensen and Jared, and they're too nice to you.
Right? Kevin learned his lesson. Osric's got to learn his lesson too.
How did you being a smart ass like come about? Like how did you get into character to like play?
Oh, that's a good question. I wish I totally forgot about that episode. There's a lot of things I forget about on this show because it's so long ago. I don't know. I think it just came across on the page like, oh, I gotta be a smart ass, and sometimes I will just rehearse a lot until I get it. Right? Like I think for a long time, like most of my career, I was a very dumb actor. I would learn my lines, I would learn it really well, but I wouldn't really think beyond that. And I never thought about, like, what can I do to take it to another level? What can I do beyond the words, beyond the lines? And it took me a long time to kind of get there. And so, for that one, I just rehearsed the crap out of that episode, and I just knew my lines, and I saw it very vividly after reading it, and it made sense. So, yeah, I don't think anytime I was on Supernatural, again, very inactive, thoughtless actor. I was just trying to do my job. And I was never secure enough in my position on the show that I felt like I could ever explore, probably to my own detriment. And you know, that's not on the show or anyone else, that's definitely on me and my insecurities. But you know, as like a guest star, like I thought I was gonna die in my second episode, right? Like death was inevitable. Them bringing me back was like a surprise, right? So I never felt like I could explore it, and a lot of that was just, you know, I was still new, I was still learning, and I just didn't feel comfortable in my own skin and my abilities that I'm like, okay, I know what's best for the character. Like I never had that confidence, like I do now, but I think that's something that takes a long time to get if you're a stupid actor like I was for a long time. You have to learn your way out of it. So yeah, I wish I had an actual answer on how I prepared it, but I didn't really prepare it. I memorized my lines, and then I did it the way I saw it in my head. And that was it. And then if I did it wrong, which I don't remember, they would have told me I did it wrong, and then I would have adjusted.
And did you really enjoy being a smart ass on the show?
Of course. Actually, well, I think my favorite version of Kevin to play was when he was like super high on caffeine. It's just fun to be all wiry and stuff. It was like being Rob. Like, it was just fun.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, that's like my favorite type of character, like just like super high. That's why in my head you're always high on caffeine. And I love that energy.
That's good. I'll take that. All of a sudden, I felt like I was on acid because I saw a bear in the center. Yeah, speaking of caffeinated, how you feel?
I think I'm like a slump. I don't know. Like I feel like my leg was like buzzing for most of the panel, and then now it's subsided. So it feels good.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, it's so great to see you.
Likewise.
And guys, please give it up for Osric.